Levi, the day the sky fell, the Florida sun kissed the turquoise waves as they rolled lazily onto the shore. Levi, the day the sky fell, the Florida sun kissed the turquoise waves as they rolled lazily onto the shore. Levi lay sprawled on the warm sand, his dual daggers nowhere in sight for once. His dreads were pulled back as he sipped on a cold soda, the sound of children laughing and seagulls squawking filling the salty air. Life had been quiet lately, and for Levi, a man who thrived on chaos, it was a rare and almost uncomfortable silence. He adjusted his sunglasses, watching the horizon as jet skis zipped across the water. "Man, I could get used to this," he muttered to himself, cracking a rare smile. The villain-turned Florida man had decided to take a break from his usual antics. For the first time in years, Levi felt normal. But peace never lasted long in Levi's world. A sudden shift in the air made him sit up. It wasn't the usual breeze, this was different, heavy, foreboding. The beachgoers around him didn't seem to notice, but Levi's instincts were sharper than most. He stood, his dreads swaying as he scanned the sky. And then he saw it. A streak of fire tore across the heavens, growing larger by the second. It wasn't a shooting star, and it definitely wasn't a plane. Levi's jaw tightened as the realization hit. "A meteor," he said under his breath, his voice carrying a weight of urgency. He turned to the crowd, waving his arms. "Everyone off the beach, now!" The panic spread like wildfire as people began to scream and scatter. Levi's heart pounded as he calculated the trajectory. It wasn't just hitting the beach, it was heading straight for the city behind him. If it landed, Florida as he knew it would be gone. He reached into his bag, pulling out his daggers. The blades hummed faintly as his lightning began to course through them. "Guess the vacation's over," he muttered, his usual smirk replaced with a look of grim determination. Levi sprinted down the beach, his quantum speed kicking in as the world blurred around him. He reached the water's edge and launched himself into the air, his body crackling with energy. Higher and higher he climbed, the meteor growing closer, its fiery tail lighting up the sky. It was massive, larger than anything Levi had ever faced. The heat from the meteor was unbearable, but he pushed forward, his lightning shielding him as best as it could. He threw one dagger, and it spun through the air, embedding itself into the rock. The impact sent a ripple of energy coursing through the meteor, but it barely slowed. "That's not gonna cut it," Levi muttered, sweat dripping down his face. The meteor was close now, so close he could feel its force threatening to push him back. He gripped his remaining dagger tightly, summoning every ounce of power he had. "All right, big guy," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos around him. "Let's see what you've got." Levi lunged forward and drove his dagger into the heart of the meteor. The collision unleashed a blinding flash of light, and for a moment everything went white. The force of the impact sent shockwaves rippling across the sky, visible for miles. When Levi opened his eyes, he was falling. The meteor had splintered into smaller pieces, but they were still hurtling toward the city. "No way," he growled, frustration bubbling up. He was fast, but was he fast enough to stop them all? The ground rushed toward him, but Levi twisted mid-air, landing in a crouch on the beach. His body ached, his energy drained, but there was no time to recover. He looked up, watching the fragments streak across the sky like missiles. "I'm not done yet," Levi said, clenching his fists. His body began to glow faintly, the lightning within him reigniting. He could feel it, something deeper, something more. This wasn't just speed. This was control over time itself. He took off again, moving faster than he ever thought possible. The world seemed to slow around him as he leapt from fragment to fragment, shattering each one with precision. The final chunk was the largest, and it was seconds away from impact. Levi pushed himself harder, the world around him a blur. He struck the final fragment with everything he had, releasing a burst of energy that shook the ground. When the dust settled, Levi stood alone on the beach, his daggers crackling faintly in his hands. The sky was clear again, the city safe. He dropped to one knee, breathing heavily, the adrenaline finally wearing off. A family that had been hiding behind a lifeguard stand peeked out, staring at him in awe. The father stepped forward, hesitating before speaking. "Are you one of the good guys?" Levi chuckled, shaking his head as he collapsed onto the sand. "Nah," he said, staring up at the sky. "Just a guy who really loves his beach days." To be continued.